How to rewire your subconscious. Today, we're going to talk about why you think, feel, and act the way you do. Because when you have limiting beliefs and your thoughts are in direct contradiction to what you're wanting to achieve, we have a push pull, and it's so much harder to achieve what it is you want when you fundamentally don't believe you can achieve it. So I'm going to show you why you think, feel, and act the way you do now, and then how to feel, think, and act the way you want to achieve what you desire in a relatively short amount of time. So the first thing is limiting beliefs versus supportive beliefs. What is a limiting belief? So let's set a goal down. Let's just say you want to hit £500,000 in your business. A limiting belief would be like, who are you to do that? That's greedy. You can't do that. That limiting belief is attached to a negative emotion or a low vibrational emotion. Versus supportive belief would be like, this is exciting. Think of all the people you can help doing this. This is going to be transformational for you, your friends, your family. And when you think the supportive belief, you feel better. You have high vibrational emotions and you have higher feeling emotions. So that's what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to start removing the limiting beliefs that are putting a block between you and what you're desiring, and change it for more supportive beliefs. Because when you have more supportive beliefs, you have more energy and momentum to keep going. Limiting beliefs hold us down and back because they're negative, and they're literally telling you every step you want to take, they're telling you can't do it. So this is a diagram that's going to help you conceptualize what it is I'm going to be teaching you now. So here is the door. The door is your goal. It's what you want to achieve. Those steps, you just need to take one step at a time and you're going to get to that door. That's what supportive beliefs look like. Those steps are supportive beliefs to support you every single step of the way. They're solid, they're there. When we have limiting beliefs and you're trying to walk the same path, what happens is we have stop signs that constantly come up. We feel weird in our body, our mind starts to shift and change, and we find it really hard to take the next step. So what we want to do is uncover what is the story that's keeping us stuck and telling us stop, so we can reframe it, rewire it, and start to think and feel in a different way. So here is a diagram of our brains as an iceberg, because there is so much underneath the surface that a lot of us don't realize. So from a simplistic standpoint, our brains are made up of two sections: the conscious part of our brain and the subconscious part of our brain. The conscious part of our brain is made up of 3 to 5% of the thoughts, the actions, the outcomes in our life, where a whopping 95 to 97% of what we think, of what we feel, of the stories we have playing on in the background, of how we feel safe receiving money or not feel safe receiving money, is stored in our subconscious. So when we want to change, we want to tap into the subconscious because it's in charge of so much of who we already are. And I'm going to show you later on in this lesson how you can tap into this and change it based on what you like. So you'll also see here, I've got what's called brain waves. Now this is important because the next slide is going to explain a little bit more in depth about this. But our brains vibrate at a frequency of around about 5 different brainwave states. Now the reason I'm telling you this is because when you're in your conscious part of your brain, that's when you tend to be in the gamma or beta wave state. For us to tap into the subconscious part of your brain, that is responsible for the alpha, the theta, and the delta brain waves. We need to act a little bit differently in order to vibrate at the frequency of those brain waves. The cool thing about our brains is it's constantly vibrating in different frequencies dependent upon what we're doing. If you are sleeping, you're going to be in delta waves. If you're in visualizing, you're in that dream state, not quite awake, not quite asleep, you're in theta waves. That's perfect for getting into your subconscious. If you're in alpha waves, that's when you're more meditative, you're creative, you're in a relaxation, but you'll also feel like you're in flow. Time seems to change in this brainwave, which is so beautiful. And then beta waves is what we tend to work in. So we're in more alertness, concentration. We're in the thinking part of our brain. And gamma waves, that's the insight, peak experience, synchronization. Gamma waves is so cool. I love being in gamma state. Now, the thing you want to notice with this is the conscious is very much thinking and doing. The subconscious part is more creation and being in a visualization, dreaming, meditative, creating, relaxing. It's in a more calm state. That's where a lot of us go wrong, is we try to change our limiting beliefs when we're in a beta wave state, and it's really hard when it's actually only focusing in on the conscious part of our brain instead of the subconscious. So to take this a little bit further, how this all came about. So this is the origin of why you feel the way you do, why you think the way you do. And I always find when I know why it's happening, I know how to change it. So when you were 0 to 7, your brain waves were at a frequency where they moved between alpha, theta, and delta. The reason this is important is because when you are in these brain wave frequencies between the ages of 0 to 7, you are a sponge. You are picking up what everybody else is saying around you and what everyone else is feeling around you. So if your parents, for example, didn't have a business and they thought people with money were greedy, they didn't understand business, they thought it was confusing, they didn't like people who had businesses, their conversations are going to mirror that. So then your limiting beliefs or your beliefs between the ages of 0 to 7 are going to mirror that of your parents until you become aware enough to change them. I found this out when I was my second year in business. I'd only made $12,000 in my first year and I wanted to make a substantial amount more. But I kept getting stopped every time I knew I had to take an action step. And it was so much harder than I believed it needed to be. So I got curious about our brainwaves. I got curious about how our mind works and how to change things. And then I came across this and how everything is formed between the ages of 0 to 7. That's the foundation. That's the basis of how we see the world. And from this, I had the realization that neither of my parents had a business. And no one in our extended family had a business. No one ran a business. So no one spoke about business. But people with money in my family's eyes when I was growing up was people with money were greedy. Bad things happen when people have money. Because of certain events in my life that occurred, the conversation around it was, if you become a millionaire, you'll be greedy, you'll be nasty, nobody will like you, you won't have a family, you'll be alone. So it was a whole thing. And I felt such a push-pull when I wanted to achieve more in my business, but I felt a pull physically, like it just was wrong. I couldn't do it. So then I got curious about this. And then I wrote down everything, all the memories I had from the ages of 0 to 7 around business and money. So then I could better understand how the basis of my thoughts and my limiting beliefs. And then slowly but surely, I reframed each and every one of those stories to be something I now wanted to believe. Because the way our brains are set up is after 7 years old, we start to go more into a higher brainwave frequency. So we're not as much of a sponge. So our analytical part of our brain clicks on. When the analytical side comes on, that's when we can start deciding, does this thought resonate with what I want it to? Is this true for me or not? And you get to say yes or no. And you'll either say yes to that belief or no to that belief. But before then, you can't. So what we're trying to do now is reframe these stories and these limiting beliefs that you've had between those ages, so you can let go of them and rewrite ones that will be supportive for you. So, how do you actually tap into the subconscious part of your brain to rewire our thoughts? So, very simply, meditation, subliminals, visualization, positive affirmations, and journaling. All of these are going to support you in doing this. I'm going to take you through each and every one of this, but when I said meditation, subliminals, visualization, positive affirmations, and journaling, I want you to take note of which one stood out to you and just follow that one if you like. And what we want to do is our brains are built on repetition and consistency. You cannot just do this once and expect everything to change, because your brain needs it to be repeated, so then it takes it as important. If you don't repeat these practices, your brain doesn't see that it's important, so it's not going to change it. But when you do it every day consistently, your brain is going to go, hey, this must be important. They're doing it every day. So then they take note and they use that energy and that part of what you're trying to change to help mold and form a new way of thinking. So when it comes to meditation and mindfulness, the way you do this is meditation, as we saw before with the brainwave state, it helps you shift into a subconscious brainwave state, which allows you to kind of clean out all the limiting beliefs and just calm yourself down. And what happens is when you're in a meditative state, you'll notice the pattern of thoughts that come up. And it's in this pattern of thought that you can just be consciously aware and go, interesting. Do I want to think that? Yes or no? Well, no, I don't want to think that because it's not supportive. Well, what do I want to think? And you are in control of your own thoughts. You get to decide what you think and what you don't. So you want to calm the mind. So meditation helps to calm the mind and create a space of focused intention, allowing you to access deeper subconscious areas. So what you want to do here is absorbing thoughts. Mindfulness practice encourages you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, which can help you identify negative patterns and develop a greater awareness of your mental habits. So example, practice daily meditation, focusing on your breath or a mantra to cultivate a state of calm and awareness. The benefit of meditation is it's to help focus and quiet your mind. The point of it isn't to not think, but it's just to focus in on one area or one thought instead of being scattered and all over the place. And when you can help refocus your brain and your thoughts, you're then able to refocus in all other areas of your life. So it starts with your breath. Focus in on your breath. And as you focus in on your breath, then focus in on one part in your mind. And as you do that, you'll then learn to be able to focus greater when you're not in your meditation. Meditation, the point of it isn't to meditate, it's to get better at life. It's to be getting better at making money. It's to be better at business. And the way you do that is just sit down. It can just be 5 minutes and just breathe deep and focus in on breathing deeply. And that's going to start changing your patterns and habits of thoughts and emotions, because you're clearing out your thoughts and emotions during that meditative practice. Okay, another one is visualization. So creating mental imagery. So visualization helps you achieve your goals or experience desired outcomes as if they've already happened. So this can help to reprogram your subconscious by creating new neural pathways. So for example, mentally picture yourself successfully presenting at a conference, feeling confident and accomplished. Now, why this is important is, as I showed you before, the conscious and subconscious part of our brain. We have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Of that, we think on average the same thoughts we did yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. So unless we actively think something new, our yesterday is going to look very much the same as today and very much the same as tomorrow. So for us to counteract that and to create something new and to get out of that pattern, that loop, you start your day by visualizing the life, the business, the money you do want, which creates a future memory of what you're bringing in, what you're desiring. When you create a future memory through this visualization, your brain will look for all the ways that it's possible. all the opportunities that beforehand you had missed. Feels like magic, it really does, but it was there the whole time. It's so cool. And okay, the next one. Positive affirmations, repeating empowering statements. So use positive affirmations to repeat statements that align with your desired thoughts and beliefs. So your subconscious mind can begin to accept these affirmations as truth. For example, repeatedly saying, I am confident and capable, or I attract success and abundance. When I first started doing this, I put all these affirmations on my wall. So every time I looked around the house, I would read them and I would be rewiring my subconscious. When it comes to the brain waves, it still works when it's in the conscious, but it's more powerful when we tap into the subconscious. But what we're doing here is we're creating a 360 support network. So we're changing the beliefs you have at a conscious and subconscious level. Journaling. Journaling has been such an incredible experience for me that I didn't think I would have. So I remember it was the first year of my business, and I remember I was journaling, and I'd been journaling for years before that, but I'd only ever journaled my past. I'd only ever journaled about things that had gone wrong. And one day I was sitting in our hostel in Bali, and I was like, I'm just going to write about my future. And I did, and I wrote down my future and what I wanted. Something in that moment changed because I stopped looking at the past and started actually looking to the future of what I desired and taking ownership of my now, my present. And so the way I did that is I wrote down what I desired, so my end goal. I conceptualized how much money I wanted to make, what that meant for me, the kind of woman I would be, what I'd be doing in my day, how I'd be feeling. I really created a tangible image in my body and mind. And then I wrote down my thoughts, my feelings about the goal in my journal. So this actually helps you process experiences and identify limiting beliefs. So once I wrote out my goal in my journal, I then went, right, where am I today? What's stopping me? What's holding me back? What's in the way of me achieving this? And then I just wrote, and that's where all my limiting beliefs came out. Then I just got curious and go, well, why do I think this? Do I want to continue to think this? No? Cool. What do I want to think? I want to think this. Okay, cool. And then I would. So also in terms of processing your experiences, when we feel an emotion, it only takes 90 seconds to feel an emotion. It is when we start feeling something and then we go, I can't feel this, I shouldn't feel this, it's not safe for me to feel this. We freeze it. We don't let it process in its entirety. When we freeze it, it gets stuck in our body and it's created a memory in our minds of that. And so anytime we have a thought about the past that evokes an emotion, that's something that hasn't been fully processed. And when we freeze emotions and it gets stuck in our body, that's taking up space, that's taking up energy for us to create, for us to expand, for us to feel safe to receive more. So what you want to do is anything that evokes a big emotion in your body, have the courage to journal it out with the intention of processing the emotion and letting it go. When I started doing this, I was not a feelings type of person. I was so scared to feel anything and I'd numbed myself for over a decade. Then I started to actually let myself feel because I knew that was the gateway to feeling safe in my body and holding more and more and more. And when I started feeling, it was scary, but I kept going. And now I embrace it. I really, really like being able to go, oh, what's going on here? What's happening? Because I know the more I process, the more I allow that emotion to complete, everything inside of me shifts to more safety, more expansion, more creativity. And it is the most freeing feeling, especially as a woman, to not be holding on to all of these things and all of these emotions, other people's emotions, my emotions, and I just let it go. And I feel so much better for it. So please have the courage to process your emotion. And if it's feeling overwhelming, by all means, seek professional help. I am not here to give you advice on that, but if you need to, go seek emotional support to help you move through that, because you'll be a new person after you've done it and you'll feel incredible. So the way to actually rewrite a limiting belief. Anytime I want to achieve something quickly, every morning I'll write down the goal, that one goal that I want to achieve. And every day I'll write down, what are the ideas and thoughts that are coming up that's saying I cannot achieve this? Because they're your limiting beliefs. So you literally write them down, leave a space between each of them. Then after you've written all of them down, some days I'll have 10 pages, some days I'll have 3 sentences. It all differs and changes, and it's all welcomed. So then after each limiting belief, go back to it and ask yourself, is this ultimately true? So for example, if you want to hit 500,000 in your business and you're like, I'll be greedy. That's your limiting belief. I'll be too greedy. Is that ultimately true? And the thing is, it never is ultimately true. You get to decide what's the truth for you. So then you'd actually write, no, it's not. Well, what could be more true? Well, it could be more true that by me aspiring and exceeding 500,000 gives others the permission and the space to be able to do the same. So it kind of uplifts a lot of people, and it puts our family in an incredible position. It puts my friends in an incredible position. And you're literally rewriting from a limiting belief to a supportive belief. Then you just keep doing it each and every day. So you're literally going through your mind, everything that you don't want to have there anymore, you're just removing and replacing with something a little bit nicer. Okay, binaural beats. So binaural beats is a way in which you hear and absorb music and language. So it can help you synchronize your brainwave activity and promote a meditative state, which helps you get into the subconscious. I've literally created free YouTube videos that are subliminal messages that have binaural beats with them that you can play in the background while you're working, while you're sleeping, while you're cleaning the house, whatever it is you're doing. And it's going to help support you whilst you're doing what it is you're doing to rewire your belief systems as well. So you can go to my YouTube at Grow with Kaitlyn. It's under the playlist Subliminals, and there's quite a few there that you can choose from. The thing is, the thoughts we have evoke an emotional state. And it's from that state that dictates what occurs in our life, how we take action, if at all. And the more limiting beliefs we have about our goal, the harder it is for us to achieve. When you want to earn more with ease, focus on rewiring your thoughts, which will shift your emotions upwards, and everything becomes easier because you are letting go of the baggage and removing the barriers holding you in place. The next lesson goes in deeper into the emotional frequency chart and how to go up the emotional chart and why it's important. So thank you. That is all for today's lesson. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next lesson.